Hello everyone, and welcome to another of my Animals of the Alphabet videos. Today's letter is G, and G is for the greatest of all time, the goat. So let's get drawing. But today, instead of creating the rough drawing using simple shapes and forms as our building blocks, as seen here, we'll be using the intuitive or straight-ahead drawing method. We have done this before, and it can be a little more challenging, but I know we'll get through it together. We'll start our rough drawing with the head, by taking the line down from the top of the head, around the cheek, and down to the muzzle area. We'll move back up to the top of the head, and then angle the line down, and then around to create his muzzle. Let's place the eye line just above center, and we'll draw a fairly big eye and iris. Now, goats are generally sociable and fun-loving creatures, but like all of us, they can be bad-tempered at times, so we'll be giving this guy a pugnacious expression that lets us know he means business. So, we'll sketch in a bit of an angry eyebrow, and the mouth, add a little bit more shape to the cheek and the jaw, with a little fur at the cheeks too. We'll give him long, thin horns that are hooked at the top. We'll continue the screen right horn up from the head to create a nice graphic shape, remembering that due to perspective, to make it slightly smaller. We'll add to the goat's aggressive expression by drawing the ear back as opposed to upright. Many animals pin their ears back when they're stressed or angry, as in this case. To create a strong-looking, powerful neck, we'll play the straight line of the back of the neck against a nice curved line for his throat. We'll give him a long, thick beard, one which he can be really proud of. As we start his body, we need to be thinking of two things. One, he should look powerful, so we'll give him a fairly stocky and deep-chested body. Two, his pose, which will signal his attitude. We want him to look like he's ready for action, and we can do that by raising his bum up and tilting his body down towards his front, so he looks like he's just about ready to strike. Now we'll take this attitude even further by having him lean forward as we angle the front legs back. For a sense of power, he should have a fairly strong muscle structure from the shoulders to the elbows, but at the same time finely cut lower legs and hooves to illustrate agility. Now we'll angle the back legs out slightly as we want the goat's weight to feel like it's mostly on his front feet. The back leg should be thick through the thigh area to the knee, then taper down through the hocks and down to his little hooves. Oh, and there is just one more thing to think about, and that's that you do not want to meet this guy head on. Next, we'll indicate his markings with some color separation lines, and start the first of the two tie-down stages. Thanks to the intuitive or straight-ahead method of drawing, we've created a more finished-looking rough that looks almost ready for cleanup. This is in contrast to the simple building blocks method shown at the beginning of the video, remember? But I do feel that the shapes and forms could be pushed just a bit further, and there's definitely some fine-tuning that needs doing in this stage. So let's make the eye a bit bigger, and add a little squash as it reacts to that furrowed brow, which will then thicken up as well. And the iris could be a bit rounder. We'll add a little more bulk to the top of his head and emphasize his flat face as he lowers his head, readying himself for attack. I'm liking the shape of his muzzle, but I think the cheek could be a touch bigger, as well as his smile. The horns are looking good. We'll just add a subtle arc to the back of the left horn. Sketch in a line where the horn comes out of the head. We'll just adjust the shape along the top of his ear by adding a subtle curve. Shall we make the ear a bit smaller? Not sure yet. Let's stick to the ruff for now. Let's add some definition to his excellent beard and make it thicker by defining and creating movement in the tufts of fur. So right about now you're probably thinking, that is one messy drawing. Well, you guessed it, it's going to get even messier, because I'm going to start playing with the shapes and forms in search of the right line that defines his pose, proportions, as well as how the fur reacts to the body and his anatomy. For example, as is illustrated here, creating a more natural transition from the neck to the body so that it doesn't look just plopped on there. This messy, no, deliberately loose line work gives the illusion of shaggy fur, which in my opinion adds life and vitality to the drawing. And you know what? In the funniest way, through all this searching and scratching, you will learn where to apply your final cleanup line by trusting your intuition. So let's continue making a mess now by roughing in some fur at the shoulder areas. Add a little more information along the underbelly. Start to define his back end. A little fur at the knees. Oh yes, very cute. We'll indicate some fur through the tail as well. The legs are looking a little soft though, and they vary in thickness, so we'll tighten those up. Make sure to taper the legs inwards towards the hooves, as we don't want to deaden the drawing with parallel lines. We'll add a little more anatomy by indicating the dew claws. Let's even out the thickness of the hind legs and just add a little form to the left one. Lastly, indicate the lines of the hooves on all 4 feet. Now we're ready for the second tie-down stage, but before we move on, let's just make sure we're happy so far. Sometimes this method of drawing can get a little overwhelming and you can get a bit lost along the way. So deep breath, everybody, take a step back, clear your head, and really look at what you've got. Make any adjustments you need to so you feel absolutely ready for the next stage. With this drawing being very loose, or some might say messy, I'm going to be more deliberate as I lay down the line, especially at the eye and the brow. We'll make sure that the face is flat and the muzzle is just right. And that rather menacing smile of his could be a bit bigger. I'm still not sure how furry the cheek should be, or the exact shape of his ear. Let's tackle that during the cleanup stage. We'll clearly define his beard. The tufts along his chest and front legs are very muddy, so they will need some attention. Remember to stay loose, as we still want to retain the rough and lifelike quality of the tie-down. We'll just bang down the back of his neck and flatten his back. We'll clarify the muddy-looking tufts on the hind leg and darken up the belly. The legs are looking good, so we'll just add a little more definition. We'll commit to the shape of the tail, and we'll make those color separation lines more interesting to look at with, yes, a bit of a messier line. Let's sketch in some growth rings on the horns. If you can count them, you might even find out how old this guy is. Add some tone to the legs. We'll make his belly even furrier, and then just add some more light tone throughout the drawing. Scratch in some fur along the color separation line, as it just wouldn't be that smooth. Okay, we're ready for cleanup. The cleanup stage is where we apply the clean and final line. and sometimes do a little more polishing, such as making the eye a bit bigger. We'll add more weight to the bottom of the brow to really push his expression. Tidy up the horns a little. And earlier I had mentioned that I was unsure about his furry cheek and the size of his ear. Well, I've finally decided to make the ear larger, and I think he'll look fine with just a hint of fur at the cheek. But notice that I have added a little furry clump between his horns for cuteness. We're going to apply a standard cleanup line with some subtle thicks and thins, and we're going to vary the density of the line to give the line more life. We'll apply a nice thin line for the color separation and the growth rings on the horns. The density of the line should be heaviest through the straights and where the line isn't broken up by the tufts of fur. And of course, the tufts should feel fairly light, so use a lighter line to give a real sense of fluffiness. Again, stay loose. Draw the line. Don't trace the line, as tracing increases the risk of a boring-looking line which can deaden your drawing. Let's make sure that the legs look solid and add a bit more definition around the dew claws. And just a quick aside here, before we move on to the color stage, I just wanted to point out that I've extended the tufts of fur beyond the chest and into the stomach area, as I think it makes the fur look more natural. Okay, now for color. So except for a nice pop of brown for his eye, I'm going to use a monochromatic palette of grayish purple tones for our goat. We'll use a mid-tone for the upper portion of the body and the side of the face, and a lighter tone for his lower half. A darker color for his legs, dark hooves to ground him and give a sense of weight and sturdiness. We'll give him fairly dark horns, but not too dark, as we don't want the growth rings to get lost, just in case anybody does want to have a go at counting them. And congratulations, your goat is now finished. If you'd like to learn how to draw more animals of the alphabet, why not check out my other animals of the alphabet videos, starting with A is for alpaca. A great big thanks to all of you for drawing along with me today. Let's do it again very soon. Bye for now.